It's been months since Jeff Wittek officially announced he was done with David and decided to take legal action against him. On June 2nd, 2 years after the excavator accident, Jeff launched a lawsuit against David and shocked everyone. David has finally responded to the lawsuit and he's denying everything. As you guys know, back in June of 2020, David and the entire vlog squad took this huge trip out to Utah to film a comeback video. They had taken a few months off because of the pandemic, and they wanted their first video back to be huge. The original plan for the comeback video was supposed to be them learning to skydive. Jeff and a few other members took skydiving lessons, and that was supposed to be it. That's until David had the bright idea to rent an excavator and wakeboard off of it. Jeff got on, David swung him way too high and went way too fast, and since he's obviously not an experienced operator, he stopped way too quickly, sending Jeff smashing into the arm of the machine. Jeff could have very easily lost his life. He has brain damage, he nearly lost his eye, he's had multiple surgeries, and still deals with the effects from it every day. A lot of people thought that would be the end of Jeff and David's friendship. People thought right away that Jeff was going to cut David off and go after him legally from day one. But that didn't happen. Jeff actually protected David and went super easy on him in his whole documentary, which kind of confused everyone. People just couldn't understand how Jeff could forgive David and let him off the hook so easily. If that was a normal workplace, they'd be sued big time. People would lose their jobs, but David just got away with it. That all changed this year when Jeff decided to stop protecting him.
Has David messaged you to see if you're okay?
Nope, not a text or nothing. Not surprised, you know? It is what it is, but I'm done being fake friends with that mother.
He realized that David was able to go on and live his life and do all these things, all while he was sitting in the hospital, getting multiple surgeries, and trying to recover from the injuries that David caused. Jeff ended up filing a lawsuit against two companies, David Dobrik LLC and Dirt Gear Co. LLC, the company that gave David the excavator. TMZ also reported on the lawsuit back in June, writing, Wittek says, as a result of the accident, he suffered wage loss, loss of earning capacity, and racked up hospital bills. He's suing for general negligence and intentional tort. He's suing for more than $10 million in damages. Now, a lot of people thought that $10 million was way too high, but others pointed out that it's probably a tactic to at least get something out of David. They're probably aiming really high in hopes that David maybe settles at least somewhere in the middle. It's since been 4 months since Jeff filed the lawsuit, and only now is David responding. I don't know if he had a time limit to respond or what, but it really feels like he took as long as possible. TMZ was the first to report on David's response, and they wrote, David Dobrik, Jeff Wittek knew risk of excavator stunt. Don't blame me. Now, they don't show the actual legal document, but they do summarize it, and it sounds like it was pretty easy to summarize. Pretty much, David wants to give Jeff nothing. They wrote, David Dobrik says he shouldn't be held responsible for any injuries suffered by a YouTuber in a social media stunt gone wrong, claiming the guy knew what he was signing up for. The influencer just responded to Jeff Wittek's lawsuit against him, with David claiming Jeff knowingly assumed the risk involved with the stunt and can't collect any damages from David just because he got hurt when it went sideways. In his response to Jeff's suit, David claims Wittek knew how risky the stunt was and can't blame David for his injuries. David is asking the judge to dismiss the complaint and award nothing to Jeff. So this lawsuit is painting us a much different picture of how David feels about the accident. 6 months ago, during David's Views podcast, he kind of admitted that Jeff got hurt because of him.
And then he asked, he's like, can you promise me one thing? And I said, what? And he's like, can you just promise that no one ever knows that this was my idea? And I was like, absolutely. Like, that's not a big deal. And then that's the promise I broke recently. And I don't know. And here's the thing. I don't understand why that bothered him so much, because at the end of the day, I was the one driving it. It was my video. I was the one sitting there. It's clear as day. I am the one controlling the thing. he got hurt because I was driving. That's it. And I know that. And like I said, any chance I would get, I would take that back. Any chance I would get. And that'll be the biggest regret of my life.
He also agreed to pay Jeff's medical bills and appeared in Jeff's documentary where Jeff forgives him. So I don't know how he can exactly say that Jeff knew the risk, that it wasn't his fault, and asked for the case to be thrown out. Of course, Jeff knew that getting on an excavator and swinging off of it would be dangerous, but he didn't know that David was going to take him that high and go that fast. Just like David said, he was the one driving. He's the reason they're all there. It's his brand, his vlog, and even if David isn't physically paying the money for their time, they still technically work for David by being in the vlog squad. Just the fact alone that he's admitted fault before and even felt guilty enough that he offered to pay for Jeff's medical bills says enough. He was okay with kind of admitting fault, so people online accepted him. But he's not okay with admitting it when it comes to giving Jeff the money he probably deserves. I mean, this injury that Jeff has is life-changing. You have to take into account the amount of work he's probably missed from surgeries and recovering, and all the opportunities he's gonna miss out on because of his lifelong injury. Dirt Gear Co. was also mentioned in Jeff's lawsuit, but so far, I haven't heard anything about them responding. I would think, if anything, Dirt Gear Co. might be held even more responsible than David. Them being a company that has possession of heavy machinery, you would think they'd only rent their equipment out to qualified people. The fact that David Dobrik was able to take this thing out, drive it into a lake with no permits, and then swing people off of it seems like such a huge liability. These machines aren't cheap, and I just can't believe that an established company would even risk their brand like that. So far, David hasn't responded to anything about the lawsuit publicly, and he's also been off YouTube for over 5 months now. He isn't posting on his main channel, he stopped doing his podcast, and honestly, it doesn't look like he has any plans on returning. He's kind of shifted over to TikTok now, so who knows what his plan even is. Maybe he's waiting to see the results of this lawsuit and hoping people move on, or maybe he's just done with YouTube. As for Jeff, he seems to be doing really good. He recently started a podcast with Tana, and it totally gives the Frenemies vibes that we've all been missing, but somehow even better than Frenemies. They just have the best chemistry together, and it's perfect for a podcast. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think about everything down below. Do you think Jeff will end up winning the lawsuit, or do you think the judge will end up throwing the case out? Let me know, and I'll see you next time.